Y'all saw the news. The Houston Rockets just got Kevin Durant, and that's all I need to say for the intro. Stay tuned for this episode. You're not going to want to miss it.
All right, and welcome back to a very, very special episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show. Man, this
Man,
is an interesting one, Brad. I don't even really know how to start the
it's a
episode.
historic trade. It's a historic trade,
Man,
bro.
because we kind of got into it a little bit off camera. I just want to jump into it now, I guess. Brad said he was watching Love Island when the trade broke.
I was
right?
trying to catch up on Love Island, man. Don't judge. I was watching it, but man, 5 minutes in, I seen the trade, and I dropped everything I was doing and took a few laps around the crib. But I am very happy about getting Kevin Durant on this team. I've been saying it wasn't gonna cost the house to get KD. They kept 6 of the guys in the young core. They kept 2 of Phoenix's most important assets, which was the 2027 first round pick and the 2029 first round pick. Phoenix is still screwed, by the way. They didn't get a bunch in this trade. So, yeah, I'm obviously very excited, and we'll get into losing Jalen and Dillon, of course. But, Will, what was your first reaction, bro? Did you see it as soon as it dropped?
No, I did. So funny enough, I had my morning is hectic, bro. Got church, family stuff going on, right? Like it's a lot going on. I'm
Yeah,
trying to but that's why if you was in the space, I really couldn't be present in it at the time because I'm like,
right.
bro, I got all this stuff going on. I really can't pay attention. But I was walking somewhere, I can't remember. I had my phone in my hand, and I saw it. And my first reaction, I saw a notification pop up. My first reaction is, all right, make sure this isn't like one of those fake accounts. Make sure I'm not about to get clickbaited. And you have to reread it about 3 times before it hits you.
Yep.
Oh, KD's on the team now. Like it took me a second for it to
To
click.
process, yeah.
All right, the space honest, and I say that it still has not sunk into me that KD's on the team. Like that idea, that concept that Kevin Durant's a Houston Rocket, I don't think it's gonna be real to me until the press comes where he holds up the jersey and
Right.
you introduce him all that good stuff. I think then it might feel a little bit real. But as of right now, I mean it's almost 3:30 when we're recording this day of the trade. It doesn't feel real to me, man. I am in a I don't know, but I feel like I'm dreaming. Like the same way it felt when the Luka trade went down, where it's like, there's no way. Like this is
Right.
how it feels now. So, but yeah, we can kind of get into the specifics of it. Obviously, I think that it was a great trade. I'm obviously very, very happy, as you can tell by our reactions to the trade.
Mhm.
This is one of the deals that I wanted us to kind of explore this off season. We always talked about trading for Giannis or Devin Booker and things like that. But KD was always in that fold, and I think the biggest draw of why you would go for a Kevin Durant trade over like a Devin Booker, Giannis. And to be fair, I don't think either of those guys were actually available this summer. But the reason why like you would lean more towards the KD trade was that he fit in like a glove with what we
Mhm.
have, and you wouldn't have to give up much of anything to get him. And as Brad talked about the trade of Jalen Green, Dillon Brooks, and pick 10 second round picks. Nobody care about the second round picks.
Yeah, we good. We good.
You gave up kind of a whole lot of nothing, which we can break down in a second. You gave kind of a whole lot of nothing to get a guy who at his best is like a top 10 player in the league. And I think at his worst, he's no lower than like 15. That's probably selling him short, honestly. So yeah, like I kind of land the plane and pass it back off to Brad. But yeah, bro, it's looking good right now.
It's definitely looking good. And the move for KD is, I mean, the Rockets set themselves up for this move. They extended Ime Udoka. He obviously coached Durant when he was in Brooklyn. They signed DJ Augustine to the front office. I didn't even think about this until I
Yep,
saw someone put it on Twitter. That was KD's
he made
college
it
teammate.
UT. Yeah,
Yeah. They made sure they kept Royal Ivy. He was getting interest. That was a report. He was getting interest from other teams. And he was like, nah, I'm going to chill. KD and Royal Ivy are like best friends. Of course, the Rockets extend Steven Adams for 3 extra years. All the ties. Well, Steven Adams, of course, yes, he played with Durant in OKC. So yes, like all those ties, it just made sense, especially with KD being the one thing the Rockets were missing, which is a consistent half court scorer. Again, I can say his stats every single time, and it'll still amaze me. 53% from mid range on like 4.5 attempts a game, first in the NBA. 26 points a night. 64 true shooting percentage. Like he's everything Houston was missing. He's still very much, as Will mentioned, and it is probably selling him short, a top 15 player in the league. He's not going to have a ton on his plate. Being on this Rockets team that is still very good. Again, top 5 defense last year, best rebounding team. I don't expect those two things to change. So yes, the Rockets are immediate contenders, and most importantly, kept 6 young guys and a lot of pick value. Like I'm through the moon. Like I'm excited. Like this is insane. To watch this rebuild and now see this team. You know, they laid it out. Phase 1, 2, 3. They got Udoka. They're like, okay, phase 2. Man, now they're dead ass in phase 3. Like I'm I can't contain my excitement. But Will, whenever you want to say something else excited wise, then we can jump to DB.
Yeah, no, like because now we have the details of the trade. We can like talk about it instead of speculating, like, okay,
Yeah.
we're gonna keep this, we're gonna keep that. Like, no, we know we lost when we acquired. And so you look at a situation where you still have Amin Thompson,
Yep.
you still have Al Prince Shingun, you still have Reed Shepard, you still have Tari Easton, you still have Jabari Smith Jr. I'm pretty open. I'm not that big of a Cam Whitmore guy, but Cam Whitmore's still here. And I guess to say something positive about him is if you are somebody who believes he has that level to take his game to, the opportunity is there now
It is.
because
It's right there.
it's nobody in front of him in terms of that job he wants. If you want it, it's go grab it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you were able to keep literally 90% of your young core intact, and you don't lose any of your future draft capital. You did lose pick 10, but I mean, I think both Brad and I agree from the moment that we saw we got 10, we weren't going to keep that pick.
Right.
I at no point in time thought that the Rockets were going to draft it 10. I figured there would either be a trade up, trade back, trade out, but staying at 10, I kind of didn't see happening. So you lose a pick.
And Will, really quick,
Go ahead.
I just want to say I'm so happy because I didn't do any draft research this
I
year.
did.
Yeah,
Here's the
you
crazy
started
part. I
to.
don't know if I'll try to show you. I did. I started. It's in my notes app, bro.
Okay,
I
got the
started like
notes app.
y'all can't even see. I started like writing write-ups
Oh
on
wow.
the players. Yeah, bro. Like I was
Okay, I
I
see
was
you.
going. Yeah, I was
Yeah, I was
going
too
down.
lazy
Like
this year. Like I
I
couldn't
really
even do
watched
it.
them. Not because I thought we were going to draft, just because I wanted to be informed on the draft in the event that we did, or
Right.
quick promo. We plan to be on playback for the draft itself, so I
Yeah.
wanted to be able to speak intelligently on the draft.
Mm-hmm.
In playback when we watched the draft. But
Yeah.
I did do some research on some guys who would be in that range
Respect.
for the Rockets. What was I saying? Oh, but like there was a very slim chance that we were going to be able to like keep that pick. And then if we did keep it, the fact that guy was going to come in next year and play was like, it was probably going to be a guy who got sent straight to the Rio Grande Valley Vipers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't going to be a rotation piece probably. So you lose that, but you keep the Suns pick in 27. You keep the Suns pick in 29. You keep that Nets pick in 27. You keep the Mavericks pick in 29. You keep every originally owned Rockets pick from now until the end of time. We didn't lose any of that.
I forgot about that Nets pick. That's crazy.
We got all of that.
Yeah.
The only draft pick you lost is the one in this year's draft that you didn't want to use anyways. And so you look at it like this, where you have your young core with Kevin Durant. They're going to obviously learn a lot from KD. They're going to win all the games with KD, obviously, right? And then when it comes time for KD to transition to retirement, you're still left over with your young guys who are now going to be entering their primes, but they're entering their primes with knowledge from Kevin Durant, from game experience, from winning a lot of games. I think we're going to be a contender next year. So you're now going on deep playoff runs, getting all that knowledge and that game experience from those runs. You're now giving those guys that, and then you're also saying, hey, we have a bunch of draft picks to either keep adding to the roster via the draft, or if I say, hey, I see I got some holes in this roster I need to go fix, go trade for it now, right? You can in theory, I mean, no funny, you could in theory have these next 2 to 3 years of KD, and then when Anthony Edwards wants out, when Tyrese Maxey wants out, when any of these other guys, who do fit the timeline a bit better and can come in and uplift this team, you now have the assets to still go get a guy like that, right? The hardest part, but funny enough, not even be the assets. It would be finding the salary to make the trade happen. But you find that salary to make it happen. You have the assets to bring him in. You still have the young players. You still have the draft picks. So like this, people out there who are like concerned about this being the death of the Houston Rockets and their rebuild, like,
Oh no,
furthest thing from it.
Yeah,
Like,
come on. Yeah.
this is like, bro, if the downside of this trade is in 2 years, I got to go trade for Anthony Edwards or for a guy like, that caliber, because it's going to be somebody who wants out. Every summer, somebody wants out. If the downside is I get a positive endorsement from Kevin Durant, who has a lot of influence around the league. Ime
Mhm.
Udoka, I believe, is a huge reason why KD even wanted to come here in the first place. Have a bunch of young players who will be entering their primes. Like that is a desirable landing spot for a guy who will be asking out of his current situation, and we'll have the ass to go get him. And so yeah, I look at it like it's just like chef's kiss of a trade for Rafael Stone. I'll let my plane pass right off the bat by saying this. One of the things that I have been big on, like on this podcast and spaces on the TL, y'all know, I have been saying from the jump, I think Stone is a great GM. I think
Yes.
he's an elite GM, and I've been saying that for years. Like after that first kind of full year of him post James Harden trade, I'm like, okay, I like this guy knows what he's doing. Like I could tell, and everybody was almost like, well, no, we don't know, and people kind of taxing him points for like stuff that I think were kind of out of his control. I said in the space today, I don't really judge you on necessarily end result because the NBA is so volatile, you really can't control it as much. I
Mhm.
judge you on did the move make sense,
Right.
and I think a lot of Stone's moves have made sense. Even the ones I'm like, okay, I wouldn't necessarily move it that way. I understand what he was trying to do. And I compare him to these other GMs in the league. And like, if Stone is anything less than a great GM, man, I don't know what to tell you about these other teams out here who, who did try to tank and didn't get the talent we got. Or who are making the trades and signings and don't get the free agents we got, don't get the trades we get.
Mhm.
Um, you look at the way he negotiated Alperen Şengün's contract. I say all the time, people go look at what guys from that 21 draft class are making, and then look at what Şengün's making. He's making pennies compared to those guys.
Yes. Yeah.
The way he was able to negotiate the Steven Adams trade and then the subsequent Steven Adams signing or re-signing. I'm sorry, I said on the space that contract is front loaded, which I don't know if y'all know what that means. That means he makes less money as time goes on. That
Mhm.
is once again chef's kiss of a deal. I can keep going of all the different trades and smart moves that I think Stone has made, smart signs I think Stone has made. But I think this Kevin Durant trade, with the way he was able to, in all honesty, fleece the Phoenix Suns for a top 10 player in the league, I think this just solidifies, like, if you were at any point in time concerned that this guy is a great general manager, he's the right guy for the job for the Houston Rockets, I think there should be no room for any doubt anymore after today. If you were still like on the edge, it's just hate at this point.
I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, I love playing there.
And well, as you were speaking, I realized the Rockets, it started from the James Harden trade. The Rockets ended up getting KD using assets from that James
Yep.
Harden trade. Like that trade alone really kickstart the Rockets rebuild in the best way possible because it
And
gave them
people,
so
by the
much.
way, people thought that was a bad
They
trade at
were
the time.
mad.
I want you to
They
remember,
wanted Ben
people were
Simmons
mad at that
instead.
trade, and I was like,
They wanted
man, I
Simmons.
don't know, that's kind of a good trade.
Yeah, yeah, it gave them the flexibility to move the way they're moving right now, and they're able to get a guy like Kevin Durant. Again, as Will mentioned, he as a Rafael Stone has made a great move time in and time out. He's probably made one bad move, and it was when he had moved Ty and Garuba. But again, that's one of those moves where he's just like, it's
It
whatever.
was a bad move, and to be fair, he got tricked. He thought he was getting Brook
He
Lopez.
did right, 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 and even then, luckily that didn't happen. But
Yeah.
yeah, look at what he's done for Houston, and he's put them in the driver's seat again. The Rockets are in phase three. And as I mentioned, they are immediate contenders. And for the people who are like, okay, KD's 36, the Rockets have like a 3-year window. Okay, well, when he's gone, you have Amin and Şengün entering their prime. And they still got the ball rolling at that point. Again, they're going to be perfectly fine. When you have a young team like this, they're expected to continuously improve. So again, by the time KD is gone, this young core should be at the point where they don't even need a guy like Kevin Durant. And then you lose him and then you add in some other guys. Again, KD's probably going to get that extension, I'd imagine soon.
Yeah, I just
That 2-year 120. It sounds nasty, but it is what it is. And then we also have to look for Fred Van Fleet getting his extension. I'd imagine he takes a pay cut.
oh, I think he does. I
I
think
think he
I
does
think
too.
he I think part of the reason they kept delaying Fred VanVleet's option in the discussions on his extension
Yeah.
were because they were giving themselves room to see what they were going to do this offseason. So if you weren't able to bring in a star like a Kevin Durant, I think that's going to be the exact situation for Fred to take a less of a deal. And remind me to talk about Fred VanVleet, but I'm gonna let you go back.
Yeah, I'll double check, but I did see Keith Smith. He looked up the Rockets cap situation right now. Even if you include Jock Landau and Aaron Holiday, the Rockets are like $41 million right now under the first April. They have so much cap space to work
They
with.
had the full MLE.
They have the full MLE. Like the Rockets can
Like, Stone
still,
be cooking, bro. I don't know how y'all
yes,
be
what
hating on
I'm
this dude,
saying.
bro. I don't get it.
That's what I'm saying.
I
They can
don't
still
get it,
really
man.
improve this roster. And again, the roster right now, 9 deep, that's already a top 5 seed in my opinion. Like they can still improve this team and get even better. I sell them short with top 5. They can still be top 2. But yeah, I want to get into Jalen and Dillon losing them.
Before we do that, because I'm gonna say no positives real
And that
quick.
was exactly what I was gonna say. I want to make sure
Before
you
we
didn't
get
want to say nothing else.
to that, another positive,
Yeah.
and people are gonna hate me for saying it, but I'll say it. The Fred VanVleet situation, part of the reason why Fred VanVleet was so albatross for the Rockets last year at times was because, and Brad, I've said this a couple times on the podcast.
Oh,
he-
Will, I just realized it. But what you're about to say is true. Fred's gonna be so much better now with KD. I didn't
yep,
realize that.
that's
Yeah.
what I was gonna say. Is
Yeah.
we had Fred playing out of role essentially.
Yeah.
I imagine when Fred VanVleet signed with the Rockets all those years ago, or not all those years, it was 2 years ago. I would imagine he did not think he was going to be as involved offensively from a scoring perspective as he was this season, especially in the playoffs when he signed. I think he kind of imagined by that time he could take more of a back seat to some of our younger guys who would step up.
Mhm.
And I hate to pick on the guy because he's not here no more and he's probably going to do better things. But I think a lot of that was riding on Jalen Green, kind of taking that step and being that scorer that we thought we were getting when we drafted him in 2021. And that never happened. And so that required Fred to kind of step up. And I respect Fred for doing it, even if it wasn't necessarily the best basketball. He's like, look, if we're going to go down, we're going to go down with me swinging. Right? I respect that. And so now your situation where, like I said, like, look at Fred VanVleet's best months in a Rockets uniform, and I guarantee you it lines up with Jalen Green's best months. It
Yeah.
always does. And that's because in those months where Jalen Green is able for that responsibility of leading the teams in scoring, Fred takes that back seat and just slots into his natural role, right? When Jalen Green was too inconsistent to do that, Fred had to step up. You're adding Kevin Durant to the picture,
Mhm.
a guy who you know is going to average 27 in his sleep. Like, I don't care how old KD get, bro. He going to be able to put up those threes, the pull-ups, the mid-range. It's like, that's not going nowhere anytime soon.
Mhm.
And so you have a guy who game in and game out is going to give you that. Fred's going to be better next year because he don't have to do as much. I can just ask Fred to just literally just set up the table. Just get Şengün the ball in the pick and roll, get KD the ball in his spots, find him in that dunker spot, let him in, get some of that on-ball usage as well. Like, he's going to be better because his workload is going to be less than next year. And here's another thing I want to say, now I'll pass it back off to you, Brad,
Mhm.
is, somebody else is going to be better next year?
Talk to me.
Alfred Şengün. He's going to be better next year. And you know why? Because for the first time in his career, he has someone on that team who's better than him offensively.
Mhm.
With that scouting report, where for the last 2 years, 3 years now, it says Alperen Şengün, stop him. That's now saying KD. KD is now the guy taking all that defensive attention from Şengün. So now you can't load up on him as much. Now you can't. Now your scouting report isn't designed to stop him. He has a situation where there's another guy on that perimeter who's drawing a lot of attention from him. And KD, really
Mhm.
good playmaker, really sneakily good playmaker. I cannot wait to see those two guys in the pick and roll. Cannot wait to see that stuff, dude. Amin Thompson, he gonna be better. He gets to learn from KD every day in practice. KD is a willing passer. Another guy who can draw some attention off of him. Like, the whole team gets better because you're dropping a 27 point per game scorer who commands the entire respect of an opposing defense. Like, I don't know, bro. I'm just excited, but
As you
I,
should be.
I think that's all I have to say about the positives. Really, I mean, I could probably keep going, obviously, but
No, we could go for days on this. Especially what you mentioned though. I'm excited to have Fred off ball.
yep.
That's when he's at his best. He's a really good off ball 3-point shooter, and he's not gonna have to force up, take all those threes where he's just chucking them up randomly. I don't think we have to worry about that too much anymore. Yeah, and Şengün, he has a guy now who's getting doubled outside of him consistently. Yes, the Golden State Warriors did a good job of trapping Jalen Green and taking him out of the game. You can't necessarily do that to Kevin Durant. So yeah, I'm very excited to see what happens, bro. Like, Amin's gonna be that much better. He's facilitating to one of the best scorers of all time. That's gonna open up getting to the rack for him. Yeah, like you mentioned, man, it's just he's gonna elevate everyone around him. I'm excited to see him work with everyone on the team. Of course, Amin specifically. People are gonna say as well, Jabari. They have similar measurables. They both like to operate in the mid-range game. I hope Jabari is able to soak up as much as he can from Kevin Durant and improve in that aspect. He ended the year on a high note, and I'm excited to see him work with KD. But yeah, there's so many positives that go with this. I know people are also going to mention the age and injury concern. Again, he's played in 75 games and 62 games the last 2 years for Phoenix. He sat out the end of last year because their season was already cooked. So he could have played more than 62 if he wanted to. So yes, I don't think it's a concern injury wise. Of course, he's getting older, but assuming the workload isn't as much in Phoenix than it will be in Houston, I'm expecting him to be healthy come playoff time, and that's what matters. And I'm expecting Houston to see OKC eventually. So
And the thing is, we don't need him to be prime Kevin Durant.
We don't. No,
Yeah,
we
like
don't.
you don't
Yeah,
gotta do that. Like we just need you to be the best version of yourself next year, right?
hmm
Like just whatever that is. Like if it's 25 on an insane efficient, I think no matter how you look at it, Katie's gonna be an efficient player.
for
So
sure.
if it's an efficient 24, efficient 25, like just that is what this team was missing in terms of getting over them, getting out of that Warrior series, going to the conference finals. So yeah, like I don't need that. And here's our last positive. I said this
Go
about
ahead. Go
on
ahead.
the last pod, bro. Is we are in a situation where we can insulate KD from just about everything that's not scoring. So
Hmm
he won't, ideally you ask him to load manage and to take back to backs off. And if we have a
Yeah.
bunch of games throughout the week, he'll pick what game he wants to play. To keep him for that playoffs. Because yes, when you talk about him being healthy and available,
hmm
he plays in the playoffs. That is the one time where KD has historically been healthy is in the playoff time. So as long as we can get him there, we'll
Good
do
to
the
go.
rest. We'll do the rest. So
Yeah. Yeah, I'm good on positives. Again, I'm excited to have a Hall of Famer, a legend on this team who still very much plays at that level. So huge move. I will say, off first reaction, I was definitely sad to lose the guys we lost. Dillon Brooks, I'll say immediately. I didn't think we would lose DB this year. I think I tweeted out Fred and Dillon, they're culture guys, very important to the team. I don't think he's going to move off of them. Financially, it was a smart move if you're going to make this trade to get rid of Jalen and Dillon. Again, as we mentioned, they have like 41 million like under the first apron. So much room to operate. But losing Dillon, it definitely sucks. Like from the second he came in, he brought that tenacity, being gritty. Like he embodied everything Ime Udoka was as a coach. Like he's on the court, he's teaching everybody like, hey, this is what we're gonna do. We're not gonna get bullied anymore. And the Rockets they now have an identity of they're not going to get bullied. They're tough. They're scrappy. They'll get into it with anybody. A lot of that is definitely Dillon Brooks. Like someone mentioned it, he was the head of the snake for the Rockets defense last year. And it definitely does hurt to lose that. And again, last year, 39.7% from three on 6.3 attempts a night. He was a bucket from deep and from midi. Will and I talked about it. Like we will be pissed at first when he's taking that mid-range shot. But towards the end of the year, I was excited to see it because it was a bucket. He was a top 20 mid-range shooter last year, percentage-wise, off of a volume. So losing him for sure is going to suck, and I'm wishing him the best of luck in Phoenix. I know those people in Phoenix are probably pissed they got Dillon Brooks. They're going to like
they
him.
shouldn't be. I got a good one.
No, they'll be
I
pissed.
got a good
They'll
one.
like him about 3 weeks in.
Yeah. I give about 3 weeks. They're gonna like
Yeah,
him. That's
yeah.
why.
That's definitely one of those guys you hate him until he's on your team. Like, so I'm definitely gonna
Yeah.
miss Dillon Brooks. As for Jalen Green, again, ended the year on a rough note. So I was not surprised to see him in this trade. I actually did get very sad about it recently. I saw some posts and you throw the sad music in the background and you're like, damn, this is the first pick of the rebuild. And you really wanted this guy to be the person who was leading Houston to another championship. That's what I really wanted to see. He had so much promise. And again, the move makes sense for me in this moment. Of course, you bring in a guy like Kevin Durant, it makes sense. But losing Jalen, it definitely sucks. And I'm always going to wish him the best of luck. If it's Phoenix or wherever it is, I hope he definitely excels. But I was definitely sad. I know Will said he saw some sad TikTok with some music.
Yeah. To talk about Dylan first. This is probably the last time I'll do this on this show because he won't be a Rocket no more.
Yeah.
But y'all know I've done this probably 10 times now on the pod where I've said I was wrong about the Dillon Brooks signing back in 23.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I'm big on is I'm not afraid to be like I got that one wrong. I didn't want Dillon Brooks. Didn't want him at all when we in 2023. Did not. I wouldn't have gave him a vet minimum. I thought it was a bad idea from the mentality, from the way he shot the ball. I'm like, I'm good. I don't know that's the vet for the team. And then we signed him, and I was like, well, he's here now. Like, you know what I'm saying? Gotta get on board with it. But like Brad said with the Phoenix Suns fans, about 3 weeks into the season, I was like, I think I'm wrong. Like, I think I was wrong about this guy.
Yeah.
And obviously by the end of that season, but for sure this year, y'all know I have become such a big Dillon Brooks fan. Like it, like that's why I went on that little memento a couple weeks ago because I'm like, I kind of think this is the end for Dillon Brooks in Houston, just because any trade that we brought this summer would probably have to include him. But yeah, I am sad to see somebody go who was very much instrumental in establishing the culture, the defensive identity, the hard nose, the toughness, the grit that these guys play with. I think that's a lot of that's Ime Udoka and Dillon Brooks on the court himself. So we lose that guy. We lose somebody who, like I said, when somebody gets shoved or there's a scuffle on the court, the first guy to have his teammates back, right or wrong, every single time is Dillon Brooks. And like that means something to me as a fan. Like to know that I got a guy out there who's riding for his teammates, right or wrong, don't matter what situation is. He gonna be have his guys back, and we lost that. We also lost somebody who was our best shooter last season. He shot 40% from three on I think like 6 attempts a game.
Yeah,
So like
6.3 attempts a night.
yeah, like on some real volume, he was lights out. And we I mean we replaced it with Kevin Durant, but like that's something that we're losing. We're losing a 40% shooter. We're losing somebody who attack closeouts. Like Brad said, I wasn't a huge fan of those fadeaways and mid ranges until I got to like game 60, and I'm like, they're just going in. Like I can only say I don't like them so much if they're consistently falling.
Yeah.
And so yeah, like we lost that. We lost somebody who did compete on the defensive end. I know his defense wasn't the best as it has always been this season. I think a lot of that was because of his increased offensive role. But you did lose somebody who competed on the defensive end. I thought his defense in the playoffs were actually pretty solid. And that's something we did not replace. That's something I talked about on the last podcast, was just finding a way to replace that POA defender that we're losing in Dillon Brooks. Something I think they're going to do. We'll talk about that in a second. With like the MLE and some of the moves they have to make this summer. We didn't replace that just yet with this trade. So losing that like hurts. And like I think this is one of the first times where the Rockets have made a trade. And I'm like, like I'm gonna miss that guy, dude. Like that's why I can't tell. I'm wearing the
I didn't know you
yeah,
got the slam merch. That's tough.
yeah, I got the Dillon and Jalen on. This because I mean that today is useless. I can't wear this ever again. So
That's true. That's true. Good point. Good point.
might as well get the use out of it right now. But yeah, like I'm gonna miss Dillon. And then Jalen. With Jalen, it's like Brad said, I saw them edits on TikTok, and I'm like,
Damn.
oh man, like it got me in my feels. I'm like, man, like this guy was supposed to be the one. He was supposed to like be the next James Harden for this team, lead us to the future. We had all of the agenda wars, defending this guy, getting slandered because we're defending this guy, like all that other good stuff. Like he was supposed to be the one. And I look back to the way we drafted him, right? There was a situation where like we didn't even know we were going to get that pick to draft him that year. If I remember in 2021, like it was a real scenario where that pick did not land in the top 4, and then it went to OKC.
It was a 52% chance, I believe.
Yep, it was a coin flip essentially.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially a coin flip that we were either, because that was a 17 win season. So imagine watching 17 wins and then not getting your draft pick.
Tough, yeah.
Some of the most stressed I've ever been in my life was watching the lottery that day. Like, am I going to? Was those 17 wins were nothing?
Yeah.
And so when we got picked 2, we got Jalen Green. Like that was the first sign of hope for a team that did just lose James Harden, for a team that did just win 17 games. For it, like when it was not looking bright in Houston, that was like, okay, there might be some hope. There might be something that we can do with this, and that's a lot of responsibility. A lot of stress that's put on your shoulders. Are like, nah, we're looking to this guy who's 19, 20 years old, lead this franchise. Like that's a lot of pressure. And I feel like you want to feel about it. He came to Houston, he represented us with grace, always rode for us. Like I always, I'm always having respect for him for doing that. And so like on that front, it does kind of suck losing the first piece of your rebuild, losing somebody you did invest a lot into mentally being the guy for your team and leading you to the post James Harden era.
Yep.
But what I will say, and this is one thing that I was kind of holding my tongue on it, because it's like he's on the team and I don't want to slander nobody on the team. Like I don't get nothing out of doing that. But I did say I wanted him traded a couple of weeks ago when we talked about the fallout from the playoffs. And one of the reasons why I'm like losing him sucks, but I'm not sure to what degree we're going to feel that loss, is because if you go throughout NBA history and you look at the guys who came into the league, started from day one, led their team in shots and usage and pick and rolls, all that good stuff, and then struggled the way that Jalen Green has struggled through the first 4 years of his career, they don't just figure it out by year 5 more times than, like, I can't think of too many examples where that guy figures it out in year 5. You usually know who a guy is by year 4, especially a young player who's supposed to be the guy for a team. You usually know who he is. Now, there's obviously, exemptions to that rule, but more times than not, those exemptions are guys who didn't start or guys who didn't get usage, guys who were kind of like afterthoughts, right? You look at like Halliburton, who went to Indiana and broke out. the reason why Halliburton, kind of got skated on the rug, even too, I think people knew he was gonna be great, but the
Yeah.
way he kind of broke out and skated under that rug was, remember, he was come off the bench start his career. He was playing second fiddle to De'Aaron Fox. And also, mind you, he got traded in year two. It's also a bit different. He wasn't traded in year four. He was traded in year two. You look at some of these other guys like Jalen Brunson, same thing there. He was playing behind Luka Doncic. He didn't have the opportunity. We're talking about a guy who came in from day one, who had opportunity, who had usage, who had touches. Um, that's more closely to like RJ Barrett, guy who came to New York, started from day one, got all the usage, didn't work out. Andrew Wiggins came in, started day one, didn't work out. And so history was kind of not on Jalen Green's side of year 5 being the year that it finally clicked. If I was a betting man, I would not bet that was the year it would happen, just because you usually know. You knew by year 4 who Jason Tatum was. You knew who Devin Booker was. You knew who Donovan Mitchell was. You knew who Trae Young was, who John Morant was, who Anthony Edwards was. I can keep going. All these guys in the league who were 25, 26 and under, top 15 guys in the league, like, you knew by year 4 they were special. And we're in year 4 and we didn't know. So it probably wasn't going to happen. So that's why, like, from the fan side, sucks losing him. From the basketball side, it's like, it was time. It was time. And hopefully this fresh start was going to work for him, right? Maybe the motivation of getting traded and having the disappointing playoffs that he had and whatnot, like, maybe this is the motivation he needs to, like, whatever it is that's preventing him from being that player that people thought he could be when he came into the league. Like, maybe this is it. Maybe he needs a fresh start in a new city, whatnot. But I think it was right, and I think it was the time for the Rockets to move off Jalen Green, let alone in a trade for Kevin Durant. You were able to replace your most volatile starter for a top 10 guy in the league. All right. Anytime you can do that, you do it. So
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
Yeah, you're not wrong for feeling that way at all. But yeah, when it comes to Jalen, I think Will is correct. I didn't think about those examples with Wiggins and RJ Barrett. Again, I'm interested to see what happens with Jalen. He might get flipped from Phoenix. Maybe Phoenix keeps him if they get rid of Bradley Beal.
They
We'll
said they
see.
plan to keep him.
Yeah, if they plan to keep him,
Yeah.
then I'm interested to see how he looks next to Book. Again, it's probably the last time we talk about this on the pod, unless we want to talk about it when we see them in one of those future matchups. But
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
yeah, we gotta play, bro. We gotta play, bro.
Oh
That's
man,
gonna be sad too. That's gonna be
oh
sad.
bro,
Yeah, that'll be sad.
he better go try to buy it. I think Oso, is that his name on the Suns? I think he has that number 4.
Oh, you going back to number 0, Agent Zero. What
That's
was it?
also taken. Ryan
It's
Dan has 0.
damn.
It's Oso Ighodaro. I'm so sorry for mispronouncing your last name. I think he went to Pepperdine.
Oh, I'm hip to bro. Okay. Yeah, he
Yeah,
might be in that same situation with Daniel House. He's not giving
I
it
was gonna
up.
say, bro, you gotta go over there and ask him to get that number 4, bro.
Yeah.
Man. And then what? Dillon
Yeah.
Brooks is what, 9? So 9 is available. What did he wear in Memphis? Was it 23?
24, 23,
24?
one of those. Let me
It
see.
was, I think it was 24. And 24 is
But
available.
yeah,
The 9 is available. So
24 sounds right. Yeah. It'll suck playing those guys. But
didn't think about that.
again, for all the reasons we mentioned in this podcast, I like the move. I would do it 10 times over. Again, being able to keep the assets that they kept while remaining a contender, while not losing any flexibility, while still having room to improve this roster. 10 out of 10 from Rafael Stone. Like, he's been an amazing GM, and I just have to give him an applause. So that's all I got for this episode. Will and I, of course, we can talk about a million things regarding Kevin Durant. So we'll probably come on this podcast, maybe even bring on some Suns people to talk more KD. But yeah, man, we're excited. Well, did you have anything else you wanted to add for this podcast specifically?
Not talking about the trade. I'll just say we will be in playback. I'll
Yeah.
plan to drop this like
ASAP.
soon, so it'll probably be out before we're even in playback. But we'll
Mhm.
be in playback 6 o'clock Central Time to talk about the trade. We're gonna watch the James Harden game from 2019 against the Warriors, because now we get to watch a KD masterclass and a James Harden masterclass. That's a really fun game to rewatch.
Yeah.
So we're gonna watch that, talk about some KD Rockets, talk about some. Oh no, I lied. There's something else to talk about. I completely forgot. There's one more thing to talk about. I'll finish the promo for that though. Talk about that, then we'll watch the finals, which is tonight.
Mhm.
Brad, I don't know how you feel about this, but a KD trade and an OKC pack on the same day,
Oh, that'd be something.
bro. That would
That'd be
be
something.
talk about a top 3 moment in my fandom as like a basketball fan. Is my biggest go outside, and I got KD in the same day.
Right in the back of my mind, I was worried if they lost, they'd pull a move and like
Too
sneak
late
in for
now.
KD. Yeah, it's too late for
Too late
that
now, man.
stuff.
He home.
Yeah, that'd
So,
be great. That'd be great. I hope Indiana can pull it out. We'll see how Tyrese is holding up. But
but
yeah.
the last thing I want to say is we do have, like Brett said, the MLE. We have some moves we can make here and there. I didn't think about it till just now, or a couple minutes ago. I'm sorry.
Mhm.
We're talking about in the space. We didn't lose Aaron Holiday and Jock Landale's tradable salary.
Right.
So you can make another trade. You have the salary to go make another trade. Now you can't make a trade for like a guy making like 30 million, but somebody who's in like that 20 million range,
Mhm.
you have the salary needed to go get that guy. So, Isaiah, shout out to Isaiah, friend of the show. He loves the Cam Johnson idea to still go out there and find a way to get Cam Johnson. Maybe do like the salaries and swap forgiveness in 27 for Cam Johnson. I don't know how it works, but I think Quentin Grimes fits this team like a glove. Like
That'd be
if
the
you can
guy.
find a
That'd be the
way
guy.
to get
Yeah.
Quentin Grimes on this team, my goodness, that like you talk about everything that you're missing from Dillon Brooks and Jalen Green. He does that.
Yeah.
And then same thing, Derek White in Boston. That's a name that I loved even before the idea of trading for KD. Right? If we didn't get KD, I still would have loved Derek White. I love it even more now that KD's here. If you can find a way to look at a Celtics situation where they're probably gonna look to somewhat of a soft retool, considering that Jason Tatum's gonna be hurt this year, and Drew Holiday, Porzingis going to get traded for salary reasons, and Derek White's getting up there in age. You might say like, hey, we'll break you off with a little something, something.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get Derek White back. And now you have a situation where Derek White is your starting shooting guard next to Fred VanVleet, Amin, Kevin Durant, Şengün. And I think that's just like a super duper complete team. I think you bring in a great pull-up shooter, a great defender, great playmaker, guy who knows his role well. I would like if Stone could, I think Stone's already got an A+ this offseason. If he does nothing, he gets an A+, but I don't think he's done. I think there's something else coming. And if it was like a Derek White or a Quentin Grimes, for example, I would be over the moon with that. I would still love Cam Johnson, different things like that. I don't know, perhaps any other names out there that you would like the Rockets kind of target.
I'll go look. I'll definitely go look. But yeah, Q Dot is the first person at the top of my mind. Quentin Grimes, correct me if I'm wrong, restricted free agent?
He's an RFA.
Yes, so I would be very curious to see if the Rockets can make a play for him. That would be absurd. If they pull him in, yeah, you throw him at the 2 off the rip. You go from there. Yeah, that makes them again. I don't
True,
think
that's
they're
a tough team.
contenders, but that would make that team so
Nah,
tough. Yeah,
it does, dude. Because
yeah,
you bring in somebody who can guard. Like so
yeah,
now you have KD once again not guarding. That's
Mhm.
that's just my thing. Is I don't want KD to guard next year.
yeah,
You bring in someone who can guard, someone who can hit threes. I think it makes a lot of sense. So
yeah.
hopefully we get something like that this summer.
Yeah, I agree with Will, and that's all I really have for this podcast. Again, appreciate y'all for all the support. We're happy to have KD, happy to be in phase 3. If you haven't already, if you're new to the channel, definitely subscribe, like, comment, let us know your thoughts on the trade. I know a lot of people didn't want us to trade for KD, so I'm curious to see what y'all think about the trade itself. So, as I mentioned, though, Will and I will be back soon. Excited about the trade, but that was another episode of the Bradeaux and Will Show. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back.